Hi, this is Sarit Switzer, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast, a podcast devoted to the teachings of Rabbi Shneur Zalman of Liadi as recorded in his most famous work, the Tanya. My hope for this show is to make these teachings accessible and relatable to the average person, regardless of prior Jewish education or affiliation. The episodes follow the prescribed daily study portions and are meant to serve as practical lessons in how to live your life as your true self and develop an authentic and powerful relationship with your Creator. I have personally experienced the effects the study of this work has had on me, and I'm excited to share what I can of this knowledge with you. So please join me on this journey of learning, self-growth, and connection with your source. Hi, and welcome to the It Is Taught podcast. This is episode 716 for the 24th of Cheshvan in a regular year. Think about the people in your life for a second. Think about your family, your friends, your loved ones, and think about the person who you would consider to be the most generous. So hopefully you can think of at least one person like this. So focus on one of them. Maybe this person is always there for you emotionally. Maybe every time you make a Shabbos meal, they always offer to help, always offer to bring something. Maybe on your birthday, they always make sure to either take you out to eat, get you a present, or write you a nice card, call you up, something like that. So let's take that example of the birthday. Let's say this is a friend that you've had for 20 years, let's say, and every single year they always make an effort to get you a really nice present and write you a really nice card and maybe take you out to eat. This is like a super generous person we're thinking about here, right? Now, what if all of a sudden, out of the blue, this same friend, your birthday came around and they didn't even acknowledge it? What if they didn't even call you up to say happy birthday? Or what if they did? What if they just they sent you an email, a quick little email, like happy birthday, but no present, no card, no taking you out to eat or whatever. And as far as you knew, you were still in their good graces. You guys didn't have a fight. As far as you knew, it's not like this person went through like a major life change or something like that. So what's going on? You'd notice this, right? You'd notice that the person definitely acted different towards you in this birthday. And it might feel a little hurtful, right? Versus, let's say you have another friend who is a good friend and there's nothing wrong with your friendship, but they never did this before. They never took you out to eat. They never, bought you a fancy present for your birthday or anything like that. When your birthday comes around and you get that same email message from them just with a brief little happy birthday, you're not going to be as insulted, right? Or you're probably not going to be as insulted at all, because you have different expectations of these different friends, right? Somebody who gives to you often and always, you build up a certain standard with that. And this is true for so many areas of life. This is true for ourselves as well, that when we all have standards in terms of how we dress, in terms of how much money we make, in terms of what type of car we have, things like that. And once you have a certain standard, like there's a certain, maybe in the negative sense, there's actually studies that have shown that the richer people get, the more they want, because certain things that have become kind of like just necessities that in the past would have, that like when you have we all have like baseline necessities, and then we have things that we think of as luxuries, but the richer people get, those luxuries become necessities. An example that comes to mind for myself is getting manicures. This is something I do on a regular basis, and living in New York, many of my friends do this as well. It's a every other week occurrence. For some of my friends, it's a weekly occurrence, some people monthly occurrence, but it's pretty regular. And was interesting to notice over the pandemic, over COVID, when everybody was locked down, is it really made me realize that it's actually not a necessity. It's actually a luxury. And even after the pandemic was over and once things started opening up again, even though now I am back to my regular manicure schedule, it did kind of make me realize, it put it in perspective that, well, for me, this has become a necessity. For many other people, this is considered a luxury. So it is really all relative. But at the same time, once you have a standard, we're very quick to adopt to that standard, and that becomes the regular, that becomes the habit. We see this in our Gashmias life, in our materialistic life. It's very easy to see that. But what we're going to be learning about today is this should be true in our spiritual lives as well. If you are the type of person that prays at 3 times a day, and let's say, you're a man and you go to shul every single day at the same time, if you don't show up for shul one day, like, that's a big deal if you've been going there for a long time, versus somebody who kind of goes in and out, shows up once in a while. It's like, if they don't show up one day, it's not like nobody will be so surprised, but somebody who's a regular, that's going to be noticed. And in particular, the focus of what we're going to be focusing on today is the giving of charity, and what the Alter Rebbe is going to teach us, and we're going to be learning an entire epistle today, is that if you are accustomed to giving a certain amount of charity and to give charity in certain increments at the same time, because as we've learned, it's not only the quantity that matters, but it's actually the consistency of giving charity on a daily basis, on a regular basis. So if you have a certain standard in this, that you standardly give every day, every week, whatever it is, $100 a week, $10 a day, 18 cents a day, whatever your standard is, if you diminish from that, God takes notice, and this is not a good thing. You should maintain your standard, just like we maintain our standard in terms of dress, in terms of manicures, whatever it is. Even if sometimes, like I've experienced this, even if, like, let's say there's a time period when I'm not making as much money, my manicures are still going to be there. I'm going to find a way to make those manicures work, and so that's the same mentality that we should have when it comes to tzedakah, that even when we aren't necessarily making a lot of money, and this has come up before in the Tanya as well, where the question comes up, like, what if you're poor? What if you literally don't have enough money for food? Do you still give charity? And the answer is yes, you should still give charity. Even if you need to borrow money in order to eat, you still have to give charity, and you still should maintain your same level of giving charity to as much of an extent as you can. So that is the focus of today's Tanya. And as mentioned, we're going to be learning an entire epistle. This is Epistle 30, and it's going to get into a little bit of a mystical kind of understanding of these things, of why it is so important to give charity, and that the two aspects of giving charity is the aspect of giving it regularly, like sort of like it should be a frequent occurrence, and then there's the aspect of giving charity in terms of the amount, that you should be giving a good amount of charity, and the quantity does matter. So the Alter Rebbe begins this epistle by citing a teaching from the Gemara in Masechet Brachos, page 6b, where it teaches that anybody who is accustomed to going to shul every single day, and then one day he doesn't show up, then God takes notice, and God asks about him, Mi v'chem yireh Hashem v'chulei, who amongst you fears God, etc. So this is an excerpt from a citation from Yeshayahu, which is an allusion to somebody walking in darkness. So basically the idea is that Hashem notices if somebody is regular at shul and goes there day after day after day, and then suddenly doesn't show up, then Hashem takes notice of that, and and this is somebody, he because Hashem knows what's going on in everybody's minds, he knows that this isn't somebody who just like an emergency situation came up, or they were involved in doing a mitzvah and that's why they couldn't come to shul, but actually they were involved in something dark. They were in a dark place. And so for that, Hashem takes notice of somebody like that. And it's like, why weren't you in shul? And then the Alter Rebbe goes on and he says that this is actually true of all the mitzvahs, not only the mitzvah of, showing up for shul, but all mitzvahs. Hashem takes notice if a person stops doing this mitzvah and they were accustomed to doing this mitzvah, and especially when it comes to the mitzvah of tzedaka, which, as we've learned, is equal to all of the other mitzvahs, right? We learned about this idea that we call tzedaka ha-mitzvah, the mitzvah. It's a very essential mitzvah. Even if, and this is the thing, even if a person doesn't make a vow, so it's very important, it's a kind of a Jewish precept, is that we make sure to be really careful not to make vows, because vows have a very serious importance in Judaism. So you'll often hear religious Jews say, bli neder, I'll do this tomorrow, bli neder. Bli neder means without a vow. So when a person gives tzedakah, if they commit to giving a certain amount of tzedakah every day, they should always say, bli neder, without a vow. I'm not vowing to give this amount of tzedakah. It's just something I'm doing right now. But the Alter Rebbe is saying that even if they didn't make a vow, then even still, any person, which the Alter Rebbe refers to, is a man of valor, a chayil, a man of valor, then who has the fear of God in their heart, they should make sure not to diminish in terms of holiness, that which they have become accustomed to year after year after year. So to give. So even if a person didn't make an official thing, every year I'm going to give this amount. If every year they gave that amount, then they really should hold themselves up to that standard. And this amount is being given. Who are they giving this to? They're giving to people who really need it. So at this time, when the Alter Rebbe was writing it, as he did in many other places in the Tanya, if you've noticed, it was towards people in the land of Israel, Jews in the land of Israel that were really, 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 really poor. And so these Jews in the land of Israel, this is who the Alter Rebbe is referring to, is that if a person has been giving year after year after year, they shouldn't diminish in this. They should continue to give in this way. And by giving to these Jews in the land of Israel, basically we're uniting with our fellow Jew, and we're lifting them up. And so now the Alter Rebbe here cites from Pirkei Avos, from chapter 3, Mishnah 15, where it says, "Hakol lefi rov ha'maaseh." Everything is according to the multiplicity of the action and according to the Cheshvan, according to the accounting. So he's going to explain what this means. So basically, just to give kind of an intro into what's coming up now, the Alter Rebbe is going to really talk about this idea that there's two aspects to this giving of the tzedaka and to maintaining your standard in giving the tzedaka. One is giving in the same consistent way that you have been before, like in terms of, in a habitual way. And the second is in terms of the actual quantity of the tzedaka. So the first one is we're going to talk about this idea of the consistency, like giving, like there's an idea that it's better to give, like if you have a certain sum of tzedaka that you want to give, instead of giving it in one lump sum, it's actually better to give it over time, spread out, because you want it to be a habit. So, and then we see that in Bava Basra, in the Gemara, it says, Kol pruta u'pruta mitztarefet lecheshbon gadol chulei, that every little coin, every individual coin adds up to a great amount. And so now to understand this idea of the advantage, the value of giving in small amounts and over time, the Alter Rebbe brings a teaching from the Zohar on a pasuk in Tehillim. So the pasuk in Tehillim is from Tehillim chapter 48, verse 2, where it says, Gadol Hashem u'mulal ma'od be'ir Elokeinu har kodsho. God is great and very much praised in the city of our God, the mount of his sanctuary. So the city of our God, that's what we're going to be focusing on here. So God is great in the city of our God. So according to the Zohar explains that a city, what is a city? A city is a place of multiplicity. A city is a place, it's a place, and it's a place where accounting happens. Like there's a lot of business that happens in a city, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. And this is why, according to Kabbalah, the city of the king is actually an allusion to Malchus of Atzilus. It's an allusion to this level of Malchus, which is the multiplicity. It's where the origin of the creation of the world comes in. And also another citation, this time's from Shir Hashirim, chapter 7, verse 5, Einecha brachot becheshbon. Your eyes are wells in cheshbon. So there's this idea of like, there's a connection between wells and accounting. Why? Because wells is like this flow downwards. So it's like this downward flow of the malchus again into this multiplicity. And so what happens now is that, so making it practical, when we give tzedaka, this is a form of esarusa delatata. This is a form of an arousal from below, which draws down life and chesed and kindness, like giving from God, from the ratzon of God, in a way with a sever panim yafot, with a friendly countenance, in a way of esarusa de la'ila, an arousal from above. So our arousal from below elicits an arousal from above, from God. So when we like give in a with this multiplicity, then God brings it as well. And it says that God will make his countenance shine forth, and this will bring down the chen and chesed and ratzon ha'elyon, the grace, kindness, and supernal will from the life of all life, which is God, which is something that is beyond our understanding, into the level of malchutcha, malchut kolamim, which is the revealed world, the Malchus of Atzilus. So basically, this, just to break that down for you guys a little bit. So basically what we're saying is that because this multiplicity of giving is associated with the city of accounting, which, as we know, Kabbalistically means this level of Malchus of Atzilus, when we give in this way of multiplicity, like giving often and frequently, this arouses God's attribute of Malchus, which is associated with this like multiplicity of giving kind of thing. And this level of the Malchus of Atzilus, this is what vivifies all of creations and all of the chambers of creations, whether the higher levels or the lower levels, that are all in terms of numbers. Like this, these are all like this. This is what's amazing about Malchus, the miracle of Malchus, because really ultimately God is beyond numbers. God is infinite. That's not something you can count, right? But then when it comes to all the worlds which come about through the level of Malchus, it's very numerical. There's thousands upon thousands of ministers for God. So there's like, it allows for this level of multiplicity. That's what Cheshvan, that's what Malchus does. Now, so that's one aspect, is this idea of multiplicity. Then we have the idea of the actual quantity. And this comes about in the Cheshvan Gadol. It's specifically in a great accounting. So, and this is associated, interestingly, with the idea of peace, where it says, Ma'asat tzedaka shalom, that the action of tzedaka is peace. What does this mean? So what is shalom? Shalom, peace, is something that combines two opposites. That's what peace is, right? So what in spiritually speaking, what does this mean? The combination of two opposites. This is the one opposite is the heavens above, which is the idea of ligdulato and cheker, that his greatness is unfathomable. And then the other extreme is the inferior heaven, the lower heaven, that gets vested with, which is the Malchus, right? That gets vested in the lower worlds of Bria, Yitzhar, and Asiya in a way of limitation and in a way of numbers. And the Alter Rebbe concludes that this is sufficient for the understanding. So it's sort of a little bit of a cryptic note at the end there, kind of saying that, like, you know, it's kind of hinting at the fact that there's a lot more to this than what the Alter Rebbe is saying here. But that's the basic idea. So the basic idea is just to bring it back. Don't diminish your standards. So just like you have standards of dress, of, you know, lifestyle, restaurants, you know, whatever it is that your standards of living are, you should keep these same standards when it comes to your giving of tzedaka as well. If you're accustomed to giving a certain amount of tzedaka every year, and you're accustomed to giving tzedaka in a certain schedule on a daily basis, weekly basis, whatever it is, you should continue to do this. And spiritually speaking, there are two aspects to this. Aspect number one is that there's this idea of the city of God, which is Malchus, which is the multiplicity of Malchus. So God is infinite and one and not multiple, right? But the miracle of Malchus is that it allows for this one unified, indivisible God to become to manifest the multiplicity into the multiplicity of our world. So when we give tzedaka on a regular basis, multiple times, this taps into this level of multiplicity, and this allows the world to continue to receive nourishment and to be sustained in this way. And the second aspect of tzedakah is this idea of giving a lot, because when we give a lot of tzedakah, this is where we're tapping into this idea of the accounting, the spiritual accounting, the great accounting, which again is an allusion to God's Malchus. And this is the aspect of God's Malchus which is associated with peace, with this idea of unifying again the infinity with the finitude. And through unifying the infinity with the finitude, this again arouses God's Malchus, and it allows God to shower forth blessings onto us down here below. So in short, give lots of tzedakah and give it often, and never diminish from your standard of what you gave. Only go higher, never go lower. So that's it for today, and we will continue tomorrow when we begin the second to last epistle. We're actually going to learn the entirety of the second to last epistle in this sefer we've been learning of Iggeres HaKodesh. So we're nearing the end. Very, very exciting, very cool. So stick with it, and I will speak to you then. Thanks for listening to the It Is Taught podcast, hosted by Sarit Switzer. This podcast is dedicated in loving memory of my maternal grandfather, Avraham Yitzchak ben Binyamin HaKohen of blessed memory. Music by Shoshana. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to support the show, please share it with others and subscribe on YouTube, Apple iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. And make sure to leave us a 5-star review. To find out more about the It Is Taught project, including more information on my soon-to-be published book, please visit our website, itistaught.com. To catch the latest from me, follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Looking forward to speaking with you tomorrow, and until then, have a great day.